Hello, my loves. Welcome to this beautiful testimonial. I'm about to get on a call with one of the most beautiful, beautiful women who joined SEM as well 10 weeks ago. And we're going to be delving into her journey. Now, she came in as a woman who's been in a partnership for 12 years, but she really wanted to expand and deepen into her capacity and to really journey into her depth of her own embodiment. And so this call is really going to be about reflecting because every woman, like I've said a few times, comes in with a different level in our journey, a different part of our embodiment. And some women come in who are wanting to call in their king, others have their king. And yet there's still this longing, this yearning to deepen in to sensual embodiment. And so, if you're in that place, this talk is going to be a beautiful unpacking of actually the results and value that come through from that journey if you've been in a long term relationship. Okay, my love, here we are. Thank you for being on this call. And let's just kick it right off. Let's drop straight in. And let me ask you this to begin with. I want you to take a moment to go back to the beginning of SEM when we first sort of came into contact and where you were first like, huh, I'm really curious about the journey. Where were you at that point in your life? What was sort of triggering you to want to join the space?
I remember I was in Bali when I saw your masterclass, and I just really enjoyed the masterclass. And it was interesting because I'm very intuitive. So it's like I didn't even know exactly what transformation I was looking for. I just knew that I wanted to do this thing. Like it just felt like I had to do. And according to my design, when I have that urge, I know it's going to serve me. Looking back at it now, I know that I was definitely dealing with some, how to say, blockages in my sexuality, I would say, and in my ability to allow in pleasure. And it was reflecting in my relationship, but I wasn't necessarily so much aware of it, though some things had been transpiring that were making me aware, okay, there are parts of me that I'm designed to unlock, but it wasn't very conscious, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. So, a couple things. One, you watched the masterclass, and for anyone who's rewatching this, it's the 13 types of female orgasm. That was a masterclass, huh?
I love
And there was like a little hook in your intuition about pleasure coming into your fullness, and now reflecting back that there was maybe some unconscious blocks in your partnership that were wanting to come to the surface with you and your man. And you've been together for a long time, huh? 12 years.
yes, yes, correct.
Wow. So speak to me just a little bit about you guys' relationship and intuition I always find is amazing for women because we get like this drawing in, but it's these parts of ourselves that we're like, huh, that hasn't been met yet. When you
Mhm.
felt like that initial call, was there something that you felt was coming up in your relationship? What was happening there in your life?
Well, just what I was dealing with, I feel, was that it was obvious that I had parts of me suppressed or that I had desires that maybe weren't really being met because it was kind of like, how to explain, it was being shown to me, that suddenly then I started to have desires in other areas. And I know that whenever, because I'm very monogamous by nature, like whenever I start to show interest for someone else, it's reflecting to me what I'm lacking in my relationship or what maybe I'm not allowing. Like I usually tend to think that it might be something within me. And I definitely at the time was like faced with this feeling that I really desire more sexual depth and sexual pleasure and intimacy. Um, and I had no idea how to meet that. It's like I didn't really, it's not, I'm very, I'm very much like a goal-oriented person. I like to focus on things I want to achieve, and sometimes I can tend to forget a little bit about, the embodiment and the more sensual aspects. So it's been like a really good connection point for me. So yeah, it was just life showing me. It was like I was already opening up because starting to feel the desire, even if it was somewhere else, was like, wow, I'm connecting with this part of me that has a desire that I haven't allowed myself to feel yet. So I feel like life was just really pointing me in that direction. I was like starting to open up slowly around it, and yeah, now the method has helped me a lot with that.
Wow. Okay, so let me just reflect it back so we're all on the flow together. But basically, from what I'm hearing you say, it's so cool also just hearing everyone's start point, like from the start as we get to look back at the journey. But at
Mm.
the start point, at the beginning point, there was definitely a desire for sexual depth that you were realizing hadn't been experienced. There were a level of blockages and curiosity, and you could feel it coming up in your shadow self. You could feel yourself almost energetically straying, but not because you're not a monogamous person. It's just there's stuff that hasn't been fully met, and you didn't know how to tap into that and experience that with yourself, with your partner, and balance it as well, where it's not just like goal orientated, it's in the body, and you were really wanting to find a roadmap to experience that in your life. Does that sound
Mhm.
about right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Amazing. It's super potent. I'm like, yeah, a lot of women are at that point too. So it's like it's so beautiful to hear it. Let me ask you a second question. We are now 10 weeks in to the journey, and you have officially been learning, mastering, playing with, taking out from the five core pillars of SEM. And what I'd love to know is where are you now in your journey? If that was where you were in the beginning, what's been happening now in your life over these past 10 weeks, presently speaking?
Mm. Yeah, I feel like there's been like a really big shift, like a very big quantum shift, and I can see that it's like it's something I've been building momentum towards for a while. And it was like SEM was just the thing that helped me take that, when you've built momentum for a while and then there's a quantum leap moment. And
Yeah.
it really helped me take that quantum leap moment because mm, I mean, it's so good to have these consistent calls and to have the curriculum and to show up because it helps me show up for my sensuality and my pleasure, which again is something that I tend to struggle a little more prioritizing. I always tend to think more practically, like what's going to give me results kind of mindset, even though it does obviously give results, but it's like it's just been a change of mindset. So the practices have been really good for me, and it's really opened up a lot of pleasure for me. And like just my relationship, we've had so many shifts as well. And it's also things that my partner has implemented. Like suddenly he found back this tutorial video that he saw like 15 years ago or something about how to give a proper full body orgasm to a woman. And I don't think the timing is coincidence. It's like I've been doing the work to open myself, and then he finds back this thing, and it's like right the moment where my body actually is like, okay, I can do this, like I can hold this. So that's been really transformative because it's like any kind of sexual desire I had, I feel fully met in it right now. Like really, I'm so satisfied. And that's like, I think very few women can say that, it's like really relieving in many ways. And
Yeah.
for this, I also feel like I'm just so committed to my man. It's like I don't need to energetically stray anywhere, which has helped me set a lot of boundaries as well. Like very few people get access to my energy now, whereas before it was like maybe not as clean, I would say.
Yeah.
Mm,
Wow.
yeah, so that's a really big shift for me. And I'm curious to see how it's going to reflect in my business. That's the one part that I'm guessing it's going to ripple there, but I think there's still some momentum happening. But all I can say is like it's just really valuable to have that satisfaction also because it's like my heart can just say that I surrender here, it's like, and I think every woman, or at least I've always desired to find that place where I can say I just surrender here. Like I
Yeah.
don't need to energetically somewhere feel like maybe this is not the place, and that's really like actually distracting in many ways. Even if you are physically in the relationship, like to be there energetically is another thing I feel. So
Yeah. And such a couple powerful points. And I want to deepen into a few of them because you touched on a few actually major shifts, huh? Like I feel like women sometimes are like, yeah, then this happened and that happened. I'm like, yeah, that's like, wow, I want to like see you and celebrate because I know the depth that it takes to get to that point.
yeah.
One of them was you said there was no coincidence that your partner now suddenly is rediscovering these deeper aspects of pleasure, But deeper than that was the fact that you now had the capacity to receive it.
Mhm.
Speak to me a little bit about that part of your relationship. Were there times where you felt like you couldn't receive fully? And how did that shift with you and your partner and in your life in receiving?
Mm, it's a good question. Mm, of course, there were moments where I felt like I couldn't receive, like in moments when I was really operating a lot from fight or flight or masculine energy. Like there were moments where I had to take care of finance, for instance, and be responsible for both of us. And in that moment, it was like I just couldn't, even if I wanted to receive pleasure. But I feel like it's always been a little more on the, like I've always been a little more ready to receive if I had the right energetic environment. So the shifts he has made has been really transformative in that as well, because it was like I was a little bit waiting. I don't know if that's the right word, but I was at some soul, my or level, my soul was waiting for that step, you know? So it was just like a really good that. But then also, of course, the practices, I feel like the yoni, de-armoring, and all of these practices are just like really good support tools because I do them now every week. And I noticed like if I go many days without taking care of my system, is like before I can reach the pleasure, we have to go through a de-armoring, you know, and then it's like there's no pleasure at first. It's just like, oh, I'm uncomfortable here and here and here. So it's like so important to, and that's what it's given me this knowledge that's so important to take care of that aspect as women to just stay open, you know?
Wow. I also
Mm.
just find it so beautiful. I love having you in the space because you've been in such a long partnership. And every time you come on and you're like, we've just had the most orgasmic experience. This is why I would marry him. Like it's worth it all. And it's like such a huge transition. And I think a lot of women do get a question mark in long-term partnerships. Like, can I actually not just like have my king, but raise him to that standard? Does he feel safe to also level up? Is that even possible? And
Mm.
can we then have this like newfound depth of intimacy? And from what I'm hearing you say, all of the above has been happening.
Yeah, definitely. My man is also, I mean, he's always been into this stuff. So, but yeah, I think, you know, we never can wait for a partner. Like, it's just doesn't work like that. We have to do the work. And then if it's the right person that's going to stay with us, then they will level up. And if not, then someone will, you know? So, like any woman, regardless, I think they should definitely invest into themselves and do that work.
Wow. So beautiful. Okay, so wow, let me just drop in to a little bit of our journey.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this. Why did you feel, or do you feel that this whole journey you've been on has been and is so important for you? Obviously, you sort of started at a point, you're here now, but what do you think is like the big shifter that's been happening, the sort of depth between the depth between the depth?
Of SEM specifically, or SEM? Oh.
Inside the portal. I mean, obviously it's a portal, but it takes you through depths, right? Like it gives you the method and then you're in that inner journey, but it's kind of like the how to in a sense to get into that depth. And what I,
Yeah.
yeah, go for it.
It's a good question. I think one thing is that for me, I tend to, okay, I'm always nerding human design. Sorry for the people who don't get it, but like by my design, I'm a reflector actually. So that means I always just reflect the environment. And that's something I've really noticed is I enjoy the calls a lot and I enjoy being around your energy because I can feel that I reflect back, you know, this soft openness, this beautiful feminine energy. So for me, having spaces like that are always like so helpful. And I think it's played a big part, you know, and then our calls and we come on and I just love women's circles, like and just like sharing everything that's happening. Um and then of course there's so much value in the content and everything, but the content without that wouldn't have been the same. I think that's a big thing for me, just having a like connection with the energy and yeah. I think for me, whenever I work with coaches, that's always the biggest one, like the connection with them, because you represent the transformation, you know, you embody that. So it's like when you have access to that, it's like your quantum leap into the transformation.
Yeah, of course. And the circle and the woman and the energy brought, huh? Every time I love you movement so much. And it is true. There is that like sense of, I often feel it's like a golden web, like all around the world. Like when we come together, when we're praying, when we're feeling, when we're sharing all of our different parts, it's like, wow, the whole. It's so special. Like it's, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's do a slight recap just so that we're on our trail of your journey. So the start point was really some unseen, unconscious, shadowy parts that were coming up, some levels of blockages, some curiosity, and also just intuition. That was like, this is the right thing. This is what I should do. I'm ready. And now it's like a whole unblock, particularly in your relationship, but also with feeling support and showing up for yourself. Like there's a level of inner accountability where you are connecting to your body, and that's rippling into quantum leaping with your partner, in your own expression, in your energy, and also rippling into the business, starting to have that like wave effect.
Mhm.
What would you say is, before I even say that, is that all sounding about right?
Yes, I just realized though that I didn't touch upon, the hormones because also coincidentally, like the first month of SEM, I got my period 3 times, which was also like I've never had that. So I just love the timings, like it's like okay, everything was kind of planned very well. Like because if I hadn't been there, I would have been like, what the fuck is happening? Like I was really close to go to the doctor and like, but I really didn't want to go to a gynecologist and all this. So learning that I had just been overdoing the fasting and it's like now and within 1 month I corrected it. Like the last cycle was perfect and my bleed was like so light, like 2 days, and I was fine. And
Wow.
I'm assuming now this month is as well because I'm on day 15. So that was also really helpful to learn about that and learn and the hormones, which I didn't know much about really the cycle, and that was really helpful also.
That was my next question was what did you find was like the most helpful and valuable part for you in just the journey? Obviously the unblocking and all of it, but there were or were there certain aspects that were like, wow, that really changed the game for me and now I get it. Now I can actually support myself and take this into my life. And which
Mhm.
part were they?
Yeah, like learning about the hormones and like the accountability with tracking your hormones, which is I kind of knew about it, but like I haven't been very consistent with it. So I like that, and putting it in the calendar has just made me a lot more aware of where am I in my cycle, how am I feeling, what does my body need, and like treating my body as a temple and not abusing it with just like endless fasting in order to get business results or something like that. Like understanding that I have to respect it, and that was very, yeah, definitely very helpful.
Wow. Yeah, it was amazing. Like when you, that first month, particularly when you're like, I've just had my third bleed. And I'm like, oh, so often women who come into my space, it's like a thing. And I think it's because my womb also had so many problems. So I know like womb healing happens, but then to actually understand like nutrition, hormones, tracking, but then to see that it shifted in like a month. Some
Yeah.
women, I don't know about if you've ever had some, it takes years, right? For our wombs to heal. We go to gynecologists, medication, all this stuff. And for you, it
Mm.
was literally 30 days, huh?
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, the last cycle was fine. So if everything goes fine for me, I notice sometimes because I still fast, and if I fast too much, I start to feel this like breast pain, and then I know, okay, now I need to slow down a little bit. So yeah, it shifted really fast, and I combined it also with taking like some um what's it called, diatomaceous earth, which also helped a lot. Like the first day I took it, I like the moment I drank it, I was like, whoa, it's cleaning something in my body. So I think it was like the combination of all that, just like, and it's really good because if I hadn't known about that, I could just keep doing the same thing and being like wondering what's happening with my body. It's scary when something is not feeling right, and So it's very empowering to know that you can fix it and just have the right tools.
Yeah. And it also makes me so happy when I hear my women are like, I feel empowered and I know what's happening with my body. And it's not just like this weird, like, why is my body doing that? And also how to work with it. You don't have to give up fasting or anything. You just get to kind of understand your cycle and consciously relate with your vessel. It's this like relationship, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, amazing. Let me ask one final question as we slowly sum up. If you could give a reflection to women who are wanting to drop into this space from where you were at, from where and how you've been, what would you say to them? What would you reflect back from this journey, the value it brought you? Was it worth the investment? What did you get out of it? What was yeah, your final sensation of these, well, only 10 weeks. We still have a few more weeks to go, but so far the five core pillars are in.
Mm. Yeah, that, I believe investing in yourself is the most important thing you can do. And especially as a woman, we haven't necessarily been taught how our body works and how our cycles work and how our pleasure body works. And I think it opens up so much when you start to understand that and work with that. So I think it's the most important investment you can make, honestly, whether it's that you want business results or a deeper relationship or whatever it is. Like if you can do it in balance with you and how you work as a woman, that just makes it sustainable, I feel, and like something that's going to be healthy in the long run. So I think every woman should know this. Like this is the stuff they should teach in school. So it's very, very, very valuable, very important. And like if people feel drawn to it, like go for it. Of course, there will be work you have to do. You have to face things. Like I was willing to face the difficult emotions and the blocks. Like it's not going to be handed on a silver platter, but you will have the tools and the support to do so. So it's absolutely worth it. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, my love. And fuck yes, we like to present everything, but we like to let ourselves embody it and go through that journey. And I also, if I can reflect back from what you said, like it's so true. I think women today are so conditioned and not truly self-educated in ourselves. We are just
Mhm.
conditioned into what we should believe. And rewiring that, relearning that, experiencing that it's a game changer, huh?
Yeah, so much. Like if you can feel comfortable and at home in your body, that changes a lot. And I think most women are not aware of how uncomfortable they feel in themselves. And if you don't feel comfortable in your own home, life is a little tough. Because you're kind of stuck there for a while. And so learning to become very comfortable or even learning to make it something super pleasurable is like, wow, it can shift your life in many ways. In the small ways that will turn into the big ways. So again, I think for women, this is very, very important information.
Oh, my love. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey and where you were and where you were at. I again cannot reflect how much I love like genuinely hearing it and being like just the scope of women who come in and the shifts and the changes, but all of us having that coming home. And yeah, it means the world that you are sharing your light here. So thank you, my love. Okay.